Absolutely. I would agree with the importance of transparency and linking it to this is the role that each and every employee can play in achieving the goals of the company. We also, are focused on benefits and being a really top employer in terms of benefits. We have every employee in the company gets $1,000 a year fitness allowance to spend however they like, regardless of level of the company, just because we think fitness is important. But we're also looking at all of our benefits now and saying, okay, what's giving us the biggest value for our dollar right this minute? So, for example, we had a concierge service where any employee could call up and they would do the research for you. You know, I want to buy this kind of birthday present. Where can I get it? I'm going to be in this town. Tell me a good place to go for dinner, whatever it was. But we looked, and less than 15% of our employees were actually using it, and it was costing us a fair amount of money. So we decided, okay, that's not big value for our dollars. But just in the last 2 months, we've introduced 2 new things which we think are more helpful for the recession. One is a discount program. So, you can go to the site and it provides you with discounts at a whole variety of retailers online and in-store. And that's something that half our people were online within the first week because this is a recession and you always want to make sure you're getting the best deal. The other thing we just introduced was a sabbatical program. So we also talk a lot about, balancing your personal as well as your business goals and flexibility and all of that kind of stuff. And we right now have more employees than we have hours of client work for them to do. Because professional services firms are apprenticeship models. We bring in a ton of people from campus. We train them. They get their chartered accountancy designation. And half of them, we know, want to go work in industry. In a recession, fewer of those people are leaving to go work in industry. So what do we do with these extra people? We put in a sabbatical program where we said if you take between 6 weeks and a year off, you can do anything you like, and we'll pay you 20% of your salary. Well, we thought very few people would take this because in a recession, that's a bit of a risky thing to do. We had tons of people taking this because they wanted to go back to school, they wanted to travel, they had other things that they wanted to do. I should admit that far more people in Vancouver than in any other office took this. There's something about that West Coast culture. But it was a win-win because, obviously paying 20% of their salary is much cheaper than paying them all of their salary. Or, heaven forbid, giving them a package, losing a good employee. And it was totally voluntary, had the opportunity to go do something they had always wanted to do. So I think if you get it right, you can make your benefits work in line with the rest of your people philosophy.
Yeah, we did something similar, just even on vacation leave. People want, more work-life, harmony. And we used to allow carryover vacation leave. We had actually increased it a few years ago. This year, we basically said to people at the start of the year, we want everybody to use their holidays. We really don't want to carry over vacation leave from year to year. And it went over surprisingly well, which could be perceived as a negative message, but people said, great, okay, you want me to take this time off, you're going to allow me to take this time off. We have a summer hours program which sort of supplements that as well, and it went over positively that, okay, the company is interested in making sure that we get the necessarily time off to re-energize, revitalize ourselves. And so I can see, on your program how you would still have take-up even during these times. There are certain, people that want to make sure that they have that time off, to balance all their responsibilities.
Time will always be big. Yeah. I think giving employees time to do what they need to do will always be big.
We actually engaged our team we said, listen, if this company is a good company to work for, and we've been on some of the best company to work for lists, how do we make this company even better? And we put together a committee. We had 6 departments. We got one person from each department to volunteer. They went out and surveyed every single person in the business on their own and came back and said, okay, find the themes, the patterns of what kinds of things people think could make this a better place, present to me, I'll look at them and evaluate. So the number one pattern that came up is we were giving 3 weeks paid vacation. People said, listen, we'd like more. We're a work hard, play hard company. People wanted 4 weeks paid vacation. So I was like, wow, that'll cost us a ton of money. Sat down with finance, started to look at it, and then met with the entire company in sort of a town hall setting and said, okay, you guys have spoken, and this is what I heard. And when I started looking at the numbers, realizing that the time off and it's all about people philosophy, if we're really going to live that, then we've got to make people have more freedom and balance and so on. And the numbers sort of told me that having people more refreshed and jazzed up about their lives and about the business and coming back with fresh ideas would more than pay for itself, so we gave them 5 weeks. And so everyone was very surprised, but
It'll work for you.
I was very surprised, especially my finance person. And I said, you know what, you want 4, but you're going to get 5. And that did 2 things. One, it showed our commitment to the people. And number 2, it showed them that when you say things, we will really listen. Mm-hmm. And no, we won't take every suggestion, and we try. But it does actually make sense, and it's been a phenomenal recruiting tool because every employee gets it.
Can everybody hear everybody back in the back? Everybody's fine? We're good? Okay, that's right. Maybe we can talk a little bit about morale. We were touching on a lot of this stuff already right now. Any tips, 2 or 3 good tips about how to increase morale in the company? Especially when employees are actually doing more with less, because they're stressed out.
I would say, some of the things that we continue to do that we have not stopped investing in, a lot of the employee development initiatives, we know through surveys, people really appreciate that, and, opportunities to develop their careers. Our corporate responsibility initiatives that we have, partnerships with, the Kipling Junior Middle High School, and things that we're doing around the environment. We have a green roof that we put in place. Those kinds of things we continue to invest in, and people feel proud, of those, initiatives, and it does influence engagement. I think the senior management, getting out and making sure that they're visible and talking to the people, in the company and to employees. I think that's, very, important, to continue to do, and believe it or not, has an engagement effect. If it's done well, it can be very positive. So those are the kinds of things. And then recognition, I think, we continue to spend the same amounts of money that we spent on recognition. We haven't cut any of those recognition budgets. So, we continue to recognize our employees for small efforts, large efforts, through our recognition programs. And so we continue, to do those things.
Right. Anybody else?
Sure, I've got a story.
Okay.
About 5 years ago, our sales center, which is about 100 people, a lot of part-time students, a younger workforce, the culture there was just awful. I don't know why it wasn't working. It just wasn't working. So I went in, had a big meeting with everybody, and I said, okay, I'm going to start by finding out where we're at. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate the morale here, because clearly the morale isn't good. You're not showing up for work, you're missing shifts, you're late, you're fighting with each other, and it was just awful. So got everybody piece of paper, rate out of 10, and the score came back at 5.3 or something. I'm like, wow, that's not very good. There's some people here that like it, but most of you probably don't based on the rating. So I said, okay, what would be a suitable goal? What would be a place to get this to? And they said 8 within, I think, 2 months. So I said, okay, great. We know where we're at. We know what the goal is. Now we got to figure out how to fix it. And I'm going to leave it up to you guys and say, okay, well, what would an 8 look like? People said we'd be laughing, we'd be smiling, we'd be having fun, we'd be showing up on time. They laid out all the parameters themselves and said, okay, so if we're committed to getting to 8, let's have a little party at the end. And someone creatively realized that the word morale separated in half was more ale. So it turned into the reward was a big drinking fest, but that was quite suitable because everybody came together at the end. If we could get it to an 8 and we got to something like an 8.2, people were bought into making change and they knew what change looked like. So I think leadership is, we try to throughout the company and anything we do, is lead people to make their own decisions and engage them and have their buy-in. So I didn't have the answers. None of our VPs had the answers. It was the sales center team themselves going, yeah, thanks for recognizing things are broken. Thanks for supporting us in how to get there. And ever since, it's actually been very, very good.
Did you do anything specific between the time when you sat down and got the 5 whatever and the party at the end?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Little things from people wearing T-shirts. We had some T-shirts made up that said more ale on the back, 8.0. But constantly walking around and talking to people and just say, how are things? Are they getting better? What are you guys doing? What's working? What challenges? And coaching people through what they needed to do to improve it. It was one of the bigger challenges I can remember in the business from oh my gosh, the culture is that bad, to actually being one of the easiest things that we've ever fixed. Because they were so pumped up. They were cheerleading themselves with a little bit of help to get through it. Yeah.
From the beer.
Yeah, the beer.